Are you suffering from wince face due to an injury? Or maybe from back, muscle, or joint pain? Even if you're unsure what that pain is, the specialists at the Iowa Clinic Bone and Joint Center can help you feel better from head to toe. It's coordinated. It's easy. It's all under one roof. Because no one should have to live in pain or with wince face. Call or visit iowaclinic.com today.
What's happening? Welcome to a little pregame. We are, I don't know, 45 minutes. Who the hell knows when tonight's game's going to actually happen?
Not me.
Iowa State is playing Oklahoma State tonight, and it's been a long day with a lot of conflicting reports, many not accurate, but the game is finally going to happen at 7:15 tonight. Programming note, this is going to be on ESPN Plus, not ESPN2, as was originally scheduled. Most people should know that by now, but I guarantee you I'm going to have about 5 people tweeting at me asking what channel the game's on. So there we go. Just getting that out of the way. I couldn't get there because of childcare issues, and my wife is working, and believe it or not, it's hard to find a babysitter, Blum, when there's a once in a decade blizzard happening out there. So it kills me not to be there, but here we are in the home office. And I thought, well, if I'm not going to be at Hilton, when in Rome, the home office.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother. We could just do this together, but
I know, right? I don't want to walk.
One of us would have to get out of our house.
I don't want to. I'm not.
So I thought, let's
do an extended
pregame.
Thursday. I haven't left my house since Thursday. I'm guessing I'm not alone. I'm kind of going a little stir crazy, but ready to beat the Cowboys. That's what I'm ready for, with the name's lager or a 6-pack in tow.
We'll get to that. We're going to talk about the Iowa State's women's win today over number 4 Baylor. The situation is, as I heard it, so none of these teams are in school right now. Oklahoma State was in Lubbock. They, for one reason or another, didn't attempt to get to Ames. Maybe they tried and couldn't. I don't know. And here we are tipping. A good move by ESPN yesterday. I was told because of the announcers unable to get there. Probably a strategic move by them too, and giving them the flexibility to move this game back, knowing that what we all knew, that Oklahoma State was still in Stillwater as of last night, or Oklahoma State, or wherever they ended up staying. I'm just glad that they can get this game in because, Blum, as you know, these Big 12 schedules are a grind, the 2 games per week thing, and to play it on Sunday or even would have been a real chore for these programs that just have everything mapped out already. I'm glad that they can get it in. Hopefully everybody stays safe. But nonetheless, today's been a bit of a cluster.
Yeah, so normally, just for people who kind of curious how this whole works, or when you're on the road, is you leave generally the afternoon before. So, generally, because we've each done the charter thing, you leave around 1 or 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You get there by 5, and you have dinner as a team. So I understand, like, yesterday was really hard to travel, for sure. Now, why? So the next question is, why did the Baylor women's game happen? Well, Baylor came straight up from Lawrence after its game on Wednesday. So they
had
here on
planned
Thursday.
that ahead of time.
Yeah, there was nothing weather related. It was already planned. So they were already here, which was fortunate because honestly, they may not have made it either. But I guess kudos to Oklahoma State for actually making it here. I imagine they have had a marathon of a day. I'm
2 days probably.
Super curious how because Boynton was tweeting at 6 this morning saying they're on the bus going to the airport. So they've probably been up since 5 in the morning. And I've sat on those planes on the tarmac for a long time. That is not comfortable. So this game's going to be weird one way or another. I hope it's weird in that Oklahoma State does not want to be there and just kind of whatever. But Iowa State's had trouble with Oklahoma State too. So that's the other thing is this. I know Iowa State looks at this as like they feel like they owe Oklahoma State one for the last 2 years, losing to these guys in Hilton. So I think Iowa State will be ready to go. And if the women's game is any indication, that place will still be pretty much full.
Well, I know Iowa State in rescheduling this and the conversations that I had was very cognizant of the amount of fans that were doing the double dip today. And we are in a blizzard. And it was a situation where they're all here at noon. That game gets over at 2.
Yep.
Not wanting to treat your own fan base like crap and make them wait around until a 9 o'clock tip or whatever. Because a lot of people planned this weekend to do both games. And, you can't do anything about the weather. But I think there was, whatever. The game's going to happen. The matchup, real quick, West Virginia is beating Texas right now, which is really a huge upset. Texas, top 25 team. West Virginia is the worst team in the Big 12. So that's a good example. That Brent in the Central Florida beating Kansas earlier this week, just how tight this league still is from top to bottom. I'm watching Houston and TCU right now. I don't have the score on that. It's at a commercial, but last I saw, TCU was up by like 3 or something like that.
Yeah, and that's been that game almost looks identical to the Iowa State game on Tuesday. Just extremely physical, not a lot of shot making for either team, but it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, Kansas State lost in Lubbock today, and I think Central Florida played BYU. I don't know the outcome to that one.
BYU won by 5 in Orlando.
Okay, so nice cover there by UCF. Not that I pay attention to those types of things.
No.
It is 42-39 right now. TCU leads Houston. Houston actually just got within 1. We'll get to this game, and then we'll do some on the women's game. Iowa State's a 12-point favorite. What do you think? To me, this screams advantage Iowa State based on the travel woes, but we've both been on these buses before where you just have this us against the world feeling. I would guess Oklahoma State will have that tonight. Now, will it matter? I don't necessarily know. I think this is an advantage Iowa State, but this could be a resilient Oklahoma State squad.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would say on the surface level, absolutely, Iowa State has a huge advantage. They've been able to be at home this whole time. They did not get up at 5 in the morning to go travel to be on an airplane, and airplanes are uncomfortable to begin with. And this is, for me, it's uncomfortable. I'm not 6'10", clearly. So yeah, I don't know. But remember, was it last year or 2 years ago? The games against Oklahoma State kind of run together. They were missing like 3 starters and came into Hilton and won with like 6 guys total. So, and Boynton's back's against the wall already. He would be on, our friend from the Ohio game would say Boynton's on the hot seat. So maybe they just kind of throw it all out there. I'm not sure, but no, on the surface level, absolutely, this is an advantage for Iowa State. I would not want to be a 6'9" person who's been up since 5 in the morning, sitting on a bus and a plane all day, and then have to go travel to a blizzard. That does not sound very fun.
I don't know all the specifics, but I did talk to enough people up in Ames too, where it didn't feel like there was a lot of sympathy for the way Oklahoma State handled all this. So
interesting. Yeah.
I don't know the specifics. I just know that, and there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions on this. I'm not an air traffic controller. I'm just passing it along. It felt like there were a lot of people who thought they could have gotten here earlier and chose to roll the dice, and now it's like, oh, well, we have to screw around with our fans and our time, and I think ESPN was a little bit annoyed by the situation. Referees were able to get there, announcers didn't, clearly, but they made the change because of that. So I guess my point is, I think Iowa State's hyped up tonight. I don't know what the crowd will be like. I'm guessing it'll be good.
It'll still be good, and yeah, I think so. The women's game sounded like a normal crowd. Now it wasn't. I'm going to guess that thing sounded like a normal game on TV or ESPN. Or whatever we call it.
I was told it was a sicko game where the crowd that was there was freaking awesome. I sense tonight will likely be the same. They've been drinking all day.
Yeah, I will say this on the Oklahoma State front. If there's a team who I have to give a lot of grace and leeway to with travel plane situations,
I would agree. Great point.
It is that school.
Great point.
There's a lot of, as everybody knows, just look at the history of Oklahoma State.
A lot of history there.
I understand why there would be a little bit of, of anybody. But yes, good for them that they made it, actually, because I think at one point there was even like talk of Oklahoma State or somebody like, well, do we just not play and then what?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
had heard that.
in the COVID year, it would have been what would they call it, a postponement or just a no game. But now it's gone back. COVID rules no longer apply. If Oklahoma State didn't make it, that's a straight up forfeit.
Mhm.
So I don't think they would have. I don't know. I don't know for sure. But anyway, they're here. The game's going to be played, and yeah, I don't know exactly who that helps. I'm going to guess Iowa State's going to be ready to go more than anything because Iowa State's coming off a big win. But you get to 2-1 now in the league, C-Dub, and you're in really good shape. This league's crazy. You watched it again today. Tech comes all the way back to beat K-State. So, I think Iowa State can put itself in a really good position with a win today. And they've been in this spot before, though, against Oklahoma State teams that have been not expected to come into Hilton and win the last few years. And Oklahoma State's won 2 in a row. So I think TJ is going to have this team's attention for sure.
I also think it's a big game in the sense that Iowa State caught a tough break with the schedule to have 2 home games without students, and you throw the blizzard on top of it. So you're going to have your first 2 home games with a shade of the crowd of what you would do, which is really a huge deal. Obviously, everybody watching this has been in Hilton Coliseum before, but if you can still go 2-0, that's a bad break. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't control the weather. But if you can still get out of there 2-0 with these smaller crowds due to the weather, that's huge, right? Like that's huge. The other interesting point on today's game is that Iowa State's a 12-point favorite, and we talk about net rankings a lot. This is a 0 for the net rankings. This would not even be a quad 2 game.
Good point.
I know, just get out of there with the win, but it would do Iowa State some good to win this game by double digits tonight. I'll put it that way.
No question. And this is the only time you're going to play these guys this year. So you don't have a chance to revenge
Don't
a
slip
loss
up tonight. This would be a bad loss.
This would be a bad, like Iowa State on its resume right now. I mean, Virginia Tech's kind of whatever because that was a neutral site. Not a great loss, clearly. But this one would be a bad loss. This would be a bad one. And what kept Iowa State last year from getting out of that, 7, 10, 8, 9 game was they had some bad losses to Oklahoma State, to who else they lose at home last year, West Virginia at home. They lost some games that they really shouldn't have. And I don't think this team's going to do that because this team could score the ball. It was 2 years ago, Iowa State scored 36 points against these guys. Remember that one?
Yes.
Yeah, that was an all-timer. That was not great.
That game last year, oh man. Last year was the game that Grill got really amped up, and
was that West? I don't know. He did it a couple times. West Virginia, he got amped up too.
He got amped up on the road, and then he got amped up at home and yelled at Otzelberger, and this was right before it all kind of boiled over. Anyways, I wanted to say hi to some people in our comment section. I promoted this as like an interactive drinking party before the game.
There we go. Why not? Yeah.
Do want to say hi to Bill. Bill is a Oklahoma State fan who's found us. He says,
Bill.
"Go Pokes." Hey, Bill, you're welcome here.
Yeah,
you're welcome here.
State.
Yeah, actually, I've said this multiple times. They feel like they may be my favorite Big 12 school that's not Iowa State. I don't know, like them.
I think so. I agree. I'm with that.
Yeah,
I'm down.
They would be right there. I have no.
I don't know the Cincinnati, the new schools as much, but as far as
they can't. They're not. They're the newcomers. They're like the people who move into your town at the new, like us in Bondurant. You don't like them. Miguelito from the South Side. C-Dub, what's your favorite Milwaukee establishment? Oh, it's the Safe House. It's no doubt. You ever been to the Safe House, Blum?
I have never spent a night in Milwaukee, unfortunately.
Milwaukee's great. I love Milwaukee. That's one of my favorite NCAA tournament sites. Been there a couple times.
I did not go. I'm kind of disappointed I didn't go because it sounds like Miguelito would be a good time.
Miguelito from the South Side's a good time. Yeah, he's my tour guide every time I go to Milwaukee. He took me to some diner for breakfast. It was, wow. I think we had I think we had like a mimosa or whatever. Evan is watching.
Boognish Cyclone says, Brooke says hi from Welch Avenue. Hi, Brooke.
Hey, Brooke. Is that Brooke Johnson?
No, Brooke Burke. Come on, man.
Yeah, Brooke Johnson's not dressed like Brooke Burke.
No.
At Welch Avenue. I can assure you
Everybody
that.
knows Brooke. everybody knows Brooke at Welch Avenue Station, and yes, everybody knows what we're talking about. She's a legend.
We met Evan and his wife in Memphis. Took some pictures with them. They were in Jerry the King Lawler's basement with us at the after party. Hello, Evan.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Hey, Evan.
stopping by, as always. Brent is
I owe
asking
Evan some
me.
Ames log. I owe Evan some Ames logger. I'm gonna
Brent
find
is
it at
asking
some
me, is
point, Evan.
Walters on the call for TV tonight? I don't think so. I was told who was going to do it. Kevin or Kenny.
Sean Kenny and Noah Wolf.
Oh,
Say
okay.
it again.
Sean Kenny.
Who is it?
Sean Kenny and Noah Wolf. So
Interesting. Wonder who's gonna do
Noah and John doing back-to-back games today. Pretty elite stuff.
No. Is it, who's the analyst?
I don't
It's gotta be
know.
Noah then, right?
The
Noah's
analyst is
got to be
Noah.
the color
Yeah.
guy tonight.
Yeah.
Man. All right. Good for Noah getting his reps.
That's a TV rep.
He's the best.
People are gonna be
Noah's a
so
great guy.
confused. Sean does a nice job too. People are gonna be very confused by that though.
Oh yeah,
So it
it's
must
gonna
be-
be.
So Aiden, jump in here. Is it the Iowa State based production crew
Yeah.
than doing the whole shebang?
Yeah, I'm assuming. I haven't talked to anyone, but
I
I'm
have.
assuming that they probably just asked the
They
people who worked the
punted.
women's game today.
Well, let's
to
give them some
ESPN.
grace because they
Yeah.
are working with like a fifth of the production abilities as when the trucks come in. So just FYI.
ESPN made the call yesterday, which is why they changed the network, that they were going the bare bones as opposed to trying to get everybody in there. And again, there's this whole deal that most fans don't know about, but these production trucks and like there's so much that goes into it to putting these things on television, especially now with the streaming. So yeah, this would be just like watching the women's game today. It'd be just like watching the Grambling State game, those ESPN Plus games early in the year. So yeah, you're right, Brent. Give everybody some grace. It's a bitch out there. Like it's brutal. And I'm looking forward to whatever we get. I'm just glad that we're able to get the game in.
Just have
and
the game, man.
yeah,
I had some
hopefully
bad
everybody.
like COVID flashbacks. Remember, you get like a little heads up, like, oh, the game's not happening. It's like, man, it just kind of ruins your.
That was the worst year ever too, because that was the
horrible.
0-19 season, and just everybody was mad. Nobody ever wanted the being in the media that year too was brutal because they wouldn't answer questions. Everything was secretive. Fans were mad at us because we weren't asking the hard questions. Like
and
it was.
Iowa State didn't win a game in conference.
Yeah, like it was honestly, it was like the worst winter of my life, like in so many ways. And I had it easy. I was just sitting here in my basement. Like think about being like Vic Miller or somebody like that during that time, like just an absolute disaster.
So the officials are there, C-Dub, and it is.
Who do we got?
We got Kip Kissinger, who's he's a Final Four quality official.
He's a good one.
He worked the Iowa game last night. Makes sense. They would just have to drive over. We have Amy Bonner. She's a familiar face, and then Christopher Merlot, who I've never heard of. So I won't give. That's an incomplete grade because I don't know Christopher.
Okay. Houston.
I like Kip and Amy though, for what it's worth.
Houston is trailing TCU by 6, so we'll keep watching that.
Wow.
Iowa State women. Is it? I actually, he won't mind if I share this. I texted Bill Finley. I was like, hey, do you want me to keep texting you congrats on the upset when I don't necessarily know if these are upsets anymore? And the reason I tell that story is because you watch these games, Brent, and it doesn't really look like, oh, this Iowa State team's just playing out of its ass. Like I think they're pretty good. Like they're up there alone with Kansas State in the Big 12 at 5-0. And I tweeted this, and we'll have a lot longer discussion on it tomorrow night on Williams and Blum. But Addie Brown and Audie Crooks are playing for the first place team, and they're legitimate first team All Big 12 candidates right now. What do you think of that?
As true freshmen.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was my biggest takeaway was when you would play Baylor in the past. Now, this Baylor team is a top 5 team in theory. Nowhere near, in my opinion, those Griner, teams that Mulkey won national championships with. I mean, I don't think they're in the same stratosphere, but still a very, very good team. But when Iowa State would upset them in the past, they'd have to make like 12 threes and then just hope that somebody from Baylor missed some shots. Where
Yeah.
today, C-Dub, today you only make 6 threes. And for the Iowa State women, that is below their season average. Baylor makes 8 threes. And yet you felt like you had the better 2 post players. Which, have you ever thought that when Iowa State played Baylor in the
No,
last 15 years?
I was
And
thinking about this
and
earlier.
they're freshmen. They're freshmen.
It's like you go back and Anna Prinz comes to mind, but she was still limited. She was just big, and she was fine. She could pop out and hit a 3. She
was a stretch 5.
Yeah. Poppins, she was an undersized big, but she played so hard.
Yep.
Suarez, but she didn't
got
really
hurt.
play. So I don't even know if I can count her. She was the best. And you go back to like 2002. It's like, I know they've had good bigs.
Yeah,
I'm talking in this new era where the game's different, though.
So that's the thing is, like, Iowa State had, between Crooks and Brown, I thought it had the 2 best posts on the floor. And at one point, it's like I was just yelling at the TV. I'm like, just throw the ball inside. I would have never said that when Iowa State's played Baylor in my life. But those 2, and it's not just them. I don't want to make it seem like it's just the Brown and Crooks show, but they have gotten so much better. And I don't think it's out of the question that Iowa State, not only is it an NCAA tournament team, I think you can legitimately talk about contention for a Big 12 championship. I really do. I mean, you just beat Baylor. You don't play them again. So now you got a game, technically a 2-game lead on them. And, Texas is good. K-State's good. But Iowa State has shown it's now won in Stillwater, and Oklahoma State's a really good team. You won at BYU. You've protected your home floor, and you're 5-0. And that's only I think it's only the second time the last 15 years Iowa State's been 5-0 in the Big 12 to start. So they're doing some really special things with this group. And I don't know if I've had as much fun watching a young team grow up as much as this one. It's been just been awesome.
Yeah, and then Ryan and Dew kind of just doing their thing as well. And there's just the Emily Ryan story. It's one of my favorites I think I've ever covered at Iowa State. It really kind of hit home today watching Danae Fritz, who I love and I wish nothing but the best for her. But kind of just sitting at the end of that bench. And that had to be a surreal feeling for her.
For sure.
Looking at, I hope she's happy down there. I don't know. I haven't talked to Danae. I don't know. But watching Emily, kind of stick that whole thing out, and she's had some demons of her own with the health problems, right? And she's stuck it out, and look at her now. Like, she's thriving being a coach to these young players on the floor. And it's like it's got her a new lease on her basketball life as well. And it's really cool to watch. I put this on my Facebook page. I think it's one of the best stories in sports right now. It's not going to get that coverage, but what the Iowa State women are doing across the board in all of sports, it is, you got Joe Flacco, that one ended today. Like, there's a lot of, they are right up there if you look what they are doing with freshmen. And then also if you have the perspective that we do going back to last year where everybody's just kind of bailing on that program after a Big 12 championship, and look at them now. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's the extra special thing is, just go back and look at the Cyclone Fanatic message boards in April and May in regards to the women's basketball program. And it was kind of toxic. A lot of people just weren't very kind, weren't in my opinion, respectful to what this program has been about and has done. And I think that's what makes it extra special for the staff is not only are they winning without the players that left, but they're developed these freshmen really quickly. And arguably it's the best freshman classes Iowa State has ever had. And they're beating now teams at a high level. And at times today, CW, there are 5 freshmen on the floor. And so it's not only are you having a great year, but then the next thought, at least that I have, is like, oh my gosh, if everybody sticks around, Bill Fenley's got a runway for another 4 years. And that makes me excited because I love the man.
Yeah, 2 players in next year's class are nominated for the McDonald's All-American game yesterday.
Yep. And
doesn't mean they'll get it, but they're in that realm.
And they are they've got their eyes on some other players to be added to next year's class too. I'll just put it that way.
They could be preseason top 10 next year.
They're gonna be ranked. I firmly believe they're gonna be ranked. I think both teams, if Iowa State wins tonight, I think both could be ranked come Monday.
I would agree. I think the women will be. Like I would. I think the men's more of a question. It's like the men beat Houston, and they're probably going to lose now. Like it's still a good win. Like don't get me wrong, but I don't know if beating Oklahoma State pushes. Were they getting votes?
Iowa State. Yeah, they were like 30th. So I bet I'm going to guess they slip in there just because a lot of teams have lost this week.
Okay. Yeah, you would know better than me. I don't really follow that stuff. It's funny to me, like now, like with Kim Palm and
ranking doesn't matter that really.
I don't really pay attention to rankings at all. I pay attention to Ken Palm and the net. That's basically what I look for. Anymore.
My 5-year-old is obsessed with rankings because he thinks only the good teams are ranked. And we haven't quite figured out, hey, Sagarin and Ken Palm.
You need to teach him about Ken Palm, and he can become like an analytical genius.
Net rankings. He just sees the bottom line. He's like, why aren't we on there? Anyway.
So it's funny. Cameron was watching, or she was watching the Houston game the other night, and she saw that they were ranked. And Cameron, for those who don't know, is my 8-year-old.
Yeah. Yep.
And she saw that Iowa State beat the number 2 team. She goes, well, that means we're number 1.
Yeah, right. Yep.
I was like, well, no, I could see why you would think that, but there's more to it. But,
let me tell you about that Virginia Tech game.
Yeah. All right.
I feel good about tonight, by the way.
I do too. Tip off in 15 minutes. We'll let everybody go get a cold beverage and get to your spot to watch the game. 7 minutes left in this. If you get the 2 TV set up, flip it over to the TCU game. That's on ESPN. That's a good finish coming up. I think Baylor's tonight as well.
Yep, they are.
So we got a lot of Big 12 basketball.
Here's just quick scout on Oklahoma State. They've been really good defensively for the last several years. Not as good, still top 75 good. But I think this is a game where if you can get Keyshawn going, get Curtis Jones going a little bit, and you can take the wind out of the sails of Oklahoma State, I think Iowa State could run away with this. I really do. But if they hang around, I think you're going to get some anxious fans, the whole thing.
There's an element of this game that scares me, and only because Iowa State got thrown off a little bit as well.
Yep.
Like their timing, I'm guessing that they had their team meal and shoot around at a specific time and everything, and they're a very time. I've just been in enough of these situations where the team that has all the adversity rallies. The problem is I don't know if Oklahoma State is good enough to overcome that. I think they may rally though. There's just a smidge of me that's like, okay, this makes me a little bit nervous. I think Iowa State's much better than them, but we'll see.
If Iowa State gets up 14-0 like they did against Houston, I think this is a different story.
Yeah,
than
absolutely
for sure.
I don't think they have the firepower.
Hey, everybody's good. Everybody in this league is good. You've seen it already. Teams beating teams. I mean that TCU game, if they win that one, would be, super good for them. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I think this is an Iowa State game. If it wants to win the conference, compete in the top 3 of the conference, this is a must win.
No doubt.
For that purpose, you just cannot lose a game to Oklahoma State, who is more than likely going to finish in the bottom half of the standings at home. So I think Iowa State's going to be ready to go. I look for a big game from those guards today, and I think Keyshawn Gilbert in particular is my pick to click.
I will be on for post-game. I'll be doing my post-game show from here in my office tonight, right after the game. We will have Williams and Blum Sunday coming up tomorrow, as we normally do. Thanks to Aiden Wyatt for joining us. Yeah, the post-game show might get a little rowdy tonight.
How good is this beer, by the way? It's blurry in my camera.
Here's what I'm going to have next. You brought me this.
Oh, that's what I'm going to get too. That's the Christmas beer from West Oak.
Bitter Elf. I have one left, and it's really good. I really like it.
For my Okoboja area friends, we're going to be up there for Winter Games. The We Will Collective is going to be. So if you're up there, if you've done it, it's basically a drunk winter fest. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I've heard stories.
We'll be up there. We'll be up there with our good friends at West Oak. So come say hello.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
He's
All right.
Brent
Cheers,
Blum.
everybody.
Cheers to all of you. I hope you're not driving to Hilton and watching us on YouTube. That would be if you're doing that, put your phone away right now. Pay attention to the road. I will be here after the game, breaking it all down with you. Bloom, you're always welcome to join me, but you'll be with me
All right, let me
tomorrow
know.
night as well.
Let me
Yeah,
know.
well, you know when I'm coming on. I'm gonna right after the game. I'm gonna flip this thing on and I'm gonna talk about what I saw.
Do people mind if I might have had a couple of Ames lagers?
I actually think it makes it better.
Okay. I already did do a snow angel already today, so I can't embarrass myself much further than
Yeah, that was weak. That falling back, you really should have just let yourself go a little bit.
I know. The bank, there was a little bit of a wood that was uncovered. I didn't want to like break my back, so I had to be extra.
Yeah, well, that's
I'm old now. I'm old. Yeah. Anyway, all right, go Clones.
All right, appreciate everybody watching, and we'll be back after the game. Go Clones.